What's up, people? It's Kelvin again. Y'all know what time it is. I'm back going live to do another coding challenge. I'm going to give it a minute to set up everywhere. I'm streaming live across all my platforms. And yeah, it's been a minute since I did one of these. So I'm glad to be back on here and doing another coding challenge. Hopefully people can join and help me watch me or help me work through this problem. It's an easy problem from Leetcode.com called remove duplicates from sorted array. So I'm going to try to run through this, try to explain what I'm doing. Hopefully it helps somebody. And it's just practice for myself. I just do these every now and then just to stay brushed up. So yeah, hope you guys enjoy it. I'm going to go ahead and get started. I'm not going to wait too long. Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and get started with this. So what we're trying to do tonight, or what I'm going to do in front of everybody, is a coding challenge from Leetcode.com called remove duplicates from sorted array. This problem is supposedly an easy problem as by Apple, Facebook, and Adobe. And the problem goes as such: given an integer array nums sorted in non-decreasing order, that basically means that the numbers following each other can be higher or equal to the previous number. Remove the duplicates in place such that each unique element appears only once. The relative order of the elements should be kept the same. And then it says, since it's possible, I'm not going to read all this, talking about different languages. But basically what they want you to do more formally is if there are k elements after removing the duplicates, so k unique elements, then the first k elements of nums should hold the final result. So basically you have to fix this array nums and make the first unique k elements of num equal to the unique values in the array. So you have to do it in place. You have to change the array in place. It does not matter what you leave beyond the first k elements, as long as the first k elements are the unique elements in the array. Return k after placing the final result in the first k slot of nums. This is important. Do not allocate extra space for another array. You must do this by modifying the input array in place with big O of 1, so that's constant extra memory. So yeah, I mean, this part is what makes the problem harder. It's pretty easy problem if you don't need to do it in place. And so, oh yeah, hey, I see some people waving. What's up? Appreciate you joining. But yeah, if you don't use any extra space, it's not a hard problem. But yeah, this is what kind of makes it a little harder, even though it's still considered easy. This is what makes it kind of like a challenge, a coding challenge. So here they got like a custom judge thing. They don't put this for any of the other Leetcode problems. I don't know why they had this here. So I'm just going to skip that. I want to look at the examples next, so maybe people understand the problem a little better. So if we have this input where we have these zeros, these ones, these twos, threes, and a 4, basically they want us to, in place, change the array to be all the unique values from the original array in the first 5 elements. Since there are 5 unique values, they want you to trim it down, and in the first 5 slots put each unique value. And then they want you to return the number of unique values that you had, which here in this case is 5. And that's basically what they explain right here. It does not matter what you leave beyond the return k, so it doesn't matter what's in these items here. So basically I can just replace these first 5 with the first 5 unique in the array. And that's kind of going to dictate how I solve this problem actually later on. They have some constraints down here. Basically they're saying there's always going to be at least one item in the array of nums. And then it's going to be less than or equal to 3 times 10 to the 4th power. This is an interesting one. I don't think I've seen this on a Leetcode where it's like 3. Usually it's like 10 to whatever power. But this is saying it's 3 to the 10th power. I don't know why. I'm not sure that. I don't know like why it needs to be 3 times. It's like a constant value times I don't know. I don't get it. But anyway, and each item in the array, it can be negative down to 100 or positive up to 100, up to or equal to 100. And then this is important. Nums is in sorted non-decreasing order. And what non-decreasing means, you know, somebody might ask why you just don't say increasing order. Well, it's not just increasing order. The next number could be the same or increasing. So basically, you're only ruling out decreasing. So that's why they call it non-decreasing instead of just saying increasing. I was confused about that, actually, but yeah, that's kind of what it means. And it actually makes sense when you think about it. So anyway, if you ever watched me do one of these before, you know how I like to solve these problems is think through the solution first. Typically, I would write my solution down real quick. But if I'm like in an interview or if I'm doing a live, you know, you can't write it down on paper. You're probably doing something virtual. So I like to think through it first, figure out the solution in my mind, like how I would have solved it in my head. And then I like to take that solution and apply it to code with data structures and algorithms that I'm familiar with and have experience with. And so to get started, when I look at this problem, when I look at a problem about removing duplicates, the first thing I think about is using a map where you would put everything in, you would create a frequency map. Basically, you would put all the unique items in the map as the key. So each item would be a key in the map. And every time you have a duplicate, you would for each item in the map, you would increment the frequency of it. So then by the end, you have a frequency map that you can loop through the map and say, whatever I have one of in the map, I can just say those are my unique values. And then I can create a new array. Basically, this in this example, I could create this array from it. But the problem with that is in this problem, they basically say, do not allocate any other space for an array. And they also say you have to do this with big O of 1 extra memory. So you cannot use any data storage variables, data structures that will scale with the size of the input. You have to use constant memory. So the only thing you can use is the input that you're given, and you have to change it in place. So that also rules out one of the other solutions you might think to do is create a whole new array and loop through the first array and then try to do something where you like pull the unique values out and put them in a whole separate array, or where you check if the last one was the same as the next one. There's some trickery you can do to try to basically put it in a whole new array. You could also use like a splice command in JavaScript. That actually would work. I think that passes the memory constraints, but splice is an expensive operation because when you take something out of an array, it has to basically move all the indexes down. And the important thing about this is that we don't have to worry about, where does it say here? It doesn't matter what we leave in the rest of the spots in the original array. So we don't need to actually remove anything from the array. We just need to get the first unique slots filled up in the start of the array, if that makes sense. So splicing it is kind of like extra work that doesn't really need to be done. And so all that being said, what the best solution is, and maybe there's more than one best solution. I'm sure there is. Somebody asked what the problem with this is: remove duplicates from sorted array. What the best solution for this is to, of course, as they say, you need to modify the existing array that you have in place. You need to change that array to be the answer. But the best thing to do is use what's called a two-pointer technique or two-pointer approach, where, and let me see if I can kind of give a visual of that, where basically I would loop through this array as normal, like you would loop through any array. And I would also keep another pointer that I would start probably at the second item here. And I would basically, as I find unique values, I would increment my pointer and replace the value with the unique value in the array. So let's say I started here and I said, well, I'll probably start here. So if I looked at 0 or looked at yeah, I looked at 0 and then the next item was 1, then I could put 0 in my first slot here. And if I got here to 2 and the last item was 1, then I know that there's been a change in items or a change in the type of item. And so I can basically put in my 1 here. And then once I get to the end of the 2s, I can put in a 2 here. Once I get to the end of the 3s, I can put in a 3 here. And then once I get to the 4, I can put in the 4 here. So basically, every time I put in a new group, basically a unique value, I can increment this pointer to know where I need to put it in next in this, like replace it in my existing array. Kind of hard to explain now that I'm trying to do it, but it's I promise it's gonna make sense when I go through it basically. And so yeah, let me run through it. And then somebody said with the loop make it big O of n. So they're basically saying they need big O of 1 or constant memory complexity. Time complexity, there's no restraints in the problem that say anything about time complexity. So I basically use as much time complexity as I want. I'm not going to go crazy with it, but I mean, there's no way to do this problem without at least checking every element. So you're going to have to do at least big O of n time complexity. You have to check every element to get every unique element. You have to check every element in the array because you never know what's going to be at the end of the array. So now I want to jump to the code and I can explain from there. Anything somebody's confused about, I think it will make more sense when I write the code, I'm hoping. So what I'm going to do is get started on it. For anybody just joining, this problem is called remove duplicates from a sorted array. I forgot to put that at the top here. I'm going to put it like right here, the name of it. And then I got some information about the problem. This one got a heavy description or a heavy problem statement because it has all these like rules that you got to follow. So it's taking up a lot of space already. But anyway, I'm using JavaScript. Here's the function signature that Leetcode gives you to fill out. Here's the number array that my input. And basically what I need to eventually return, as the problem states, and I can't type when people watching, they want me to return K, which is basically the number of unique elements in the array that I find. So I'm gonna go ahead and just put that down there, like, kind of like as an answer, and I'll probably fix it later. So what's the first thing I need to do? So like I said, I need to basically use a 2-pointer approach. I need to keep track of where I'm at. I'm basically gonna loop this main array. And then I'm going to have kind of a separate pointer that's going to tell me where to insert my unique values at. That's probably a better way to explain it. I'm going to have one pointer that's going to be looping through this array faster. And I'm going to have another slower pointer that's going to basically input my duplicates as I find them into, it's basically going to mutate this array as I'm going through it. So the second pointer is going to be going really fast through here. And behind it is going to be the second pointer or first pointer, whatever, the other pointer that's going to actually mutate the array in place as I find a duplicate. So hopefully that makes sense, because that will keep me from using extra space. That means I don't have to create another array. I don't have to create a map. I just create constant variables that aren't tied to the size of my input. So they're safe to use as far as space complexity. So anyway, how do we start? So I know I need a pointer, so I'm going to call this I'm calling it the insert pointer. And I'm going to start it at index 1. The reason I'm going to start it at index 1 is because I want to, the first item in the array, you don't need to basically change it. You know that you already got your first. We know from our constraints that there's at least one thing in the array, and we know that the first thing in the array is guaranteed to be a unique value. It's the first thing in the array, so we already know. So I'm going to start at 1, It may make a little bit more sense later. And like I said, I have a pointer here that I'm going to keep track of and push along. And then I'm going to create a loop, which is going to give me a second pointer that I'm going to keep track of and push along. And so I'm going to start this at 1 as well, because we don't need to start at 0. While I is less than nums.length, I plus plus will push the pointer along as we loop through. And now we have a loop. So what do I need to do inside of this loop? So basically, since I'm on this on item 1, I'm starting on the second item because we do zero-based indexing in JavaScript. So I'm actually, in this case, I'm on 0 because I'm on zero index and then 1. So I'm on value numbers or value 0. So since I'm on value 0, what I can do is I can check if, let me think about it. I can check if, so this is by looking at nums and then using bracket I, this will give me the value of nums at the current index, which I know from what I just said is 0. So I can check the value of nums, and I can check if that is not equal to the value of, I think I want to do I minus 1 actually. So I can look at the previous item, comparing the item I'm on in my loop to the previous item. And since I'm starting at 1, I'm always guaranteed to have something in front of the current iteration that I'm on. And so basically, if I'm on 0 and if I'm on 1 and I see that 1 does not equal to 0, then I know I can insert. I know I've gotten to the end of a group of duplicates, and I can go ahead and insert it into my array, or not even insert it, but I can overwrite that part of my array because I'm already past it. So what I would do here, if this doesn't equal, which in this case, the first case it does equal, but in this case, when I loop to 1 and I look back I compare 1 to 0, they're not equal. So what I can do in that case is I can mutate basically at, dang, where do I want to do that at? Oh yeah, I want to do it at the insert pointer because that's where I'm inserting at. I want to make that equal to, now I got to remember what I should make that equal to. I think it would be equal to I minus 1. Yeah, because they're different. So I want to put in the last item. So basically this puts in at the insert pointer the item I just completed, and I've gotten a unique value for it. And the reason I can do this is because it's guaranteed to be in numerical order. So whenever there's a number change, I know I'm going to my next number, and I can insert the last group of numbers in as my insert pointer, my next insert pointer overwrite, basically, that I'm doing. And the next thing I need to do that you can't forget about is update the insert pointer so that when I overwrite it again, it overwrites the next item. Yeah, and somebody even mentioned that in the comments. Thank you. And so I'm looking at this. I think that's all you have to do. And somebody can let me know if I'm making a mistake, what code editor I'm using. This is Leetcode.com. So it's like an online code editor, code challenge website for you to practice coding challenges. So yeah, I think this is done. I mean, yeah, it looks pretty much done. Oh no, it's not. So what do I do when I get down to here? The problem says I need to return the number of unique, it's called K, the number of unique values that I found. Well, I've been counting the unique values with this insert pointer. So I actually can use insert pointer as the number of unique values because I've been incrementing that every time I found a change in values. This is where I find a change in values. I put the original change in value I update my original array add the insert pointer with that, and then I increment the insert pointer. And after I do that, I'll end up with an overwritten array that the first K characters or the unique values have been overwritten to be what they're supposed to be. So I hope that makes sense for folks. I know it can be a little complicated. This is supposed to be an easy one. But yeah, explaining stuff it can be kind of hard, and like if you're new to these can the easy ones are difficult, for everybody at some point. So, and even even as if you've never seen it before, it can be hard. An easy one can be difficult no matter who you are. So wouldn't ever say that you can just stomp out. You ever get to a point where you can just stomp out every single easy Leetcode problem or data structure and algorithm problems. But I digress. So what I do after I get to the end where I think I'm at the end of a problem, if you're in an interview or if you're just having to do some sort of algorithm and data structure work for your job, or you're just practicing, in an interview perspective, for sure, some companies would not, or some interviewers would not allow you to run the code, or they won't have anything for you to run the code in. So you're going to have to trace through the code and talk through the code manually. You're going to have to trace through it manually, keep track of variables manually. Some companies will allow you to just run it. Somebody said, can you use nums? Can you put past nums in a set? So I can't use any data structure. This is a data structures and algorithms problem where I can't use any data structures. That's part of the problem. Is I know it's stupid, but they making the problem harder on purpose. So I can't use any data structures like a set or a map or anything like that. So yes, you're right, but this problem is trying to get you to use some other skills, because it's possible to do this problem without using any space, which is actually something good that you should learn, because using space in a real life scenario can be costly. And so that's why this problem is trying to teach how to minimize time complexity and minimize space complexity. Because think about if these were getting stored in a database, or you're using some expensive resource in your application, and you can avoid using space, you might save yourself or the company money. You might save the application from going down once the numbers scale up. These problems seem kind of stupid on the onset and when you read them like this, but when it actually can apply to real software development scenarios, the underlying concepts do end up making sense. I've been in the industry for a while, so I've seen where systems has been taken down from bad algorithms, from inefficient algorithms. No such thing as a bad algorithm, I guess. It's just doing what you told it to do. So it's a bad algorithm, or I guess a bad way that it was written, basically. So anyway, what I would usually do at this point is if I have to trace this manually, I would keep track of all the variables and basically run through this manually. I know I'm taking a long time to do this, but it's a learning exercise as well. Because usually in an interview, I'd be done with this in like under 10 minutes. This level of problem, you kind of have to be. But I want to, go through this to help people learn and stuff like that. Help myself reinforce concepts for myself as well. What other values do we have? I think that's it. Insert pointer and nums is all we keep track of. I guess we kind of do have like num, I, and then like, we're not really putting in an extra variable because I didn't want to do that. But we kind of keep track of that too. Or it helps to know what it is. So let's put an example in here. I'm going to go with the example from the problem so it won't take too long. 1, 1, 2. And we see that the 1 and 1 is duplicates. So we know that we're going to end up with something. We should end up with something like, well, I'm actually just going to go through it. So if nums is equal to this, when it comes in, we're going to set insert pointer to 1 because that's the code running here. Then we're going to go into a loop where I is going to equal 1 to start with. So that means if I equals to 1, that means this value is going to be this one. It's going to be 1. And I minus 1 is going to be this value, which is 1. Is 1 not equal to 1? No. So we're going to just skip this whole logic and re-loop back up here and increment I plus plus. And so then if I plus plus, then this is going to equal to 2. And this is going to still equal to 1. So now we're up to 2. And then I minus 1 in nums. Sorry, this is supposed to be nums. Nums is equal to 1. Is nums not equal to nums? Is nums I not equal to nums I minus 1? We see here that no, it's not. So we're going to break into this code or go into this code. We're going to update nums at the insert pointer, which is 1. We're going to update it with nums I minus 1, which is 1. So we're actually going to update this update at 1 with 1. This doesn't look right, actually, now that I'm thinking about it. So should insert pointer be 0? Because, yeah, this doesn't look right. Wait, I minus 1, insert pointer 1 with nums 1. Yeah, this doesn't look right because this should be 1 and then insert pointer. So then if I go, yeah, this actually doesn't look correct. Now that I'm thinking about it. So if I have insert pointer, nums insert pointer is at 1, and I want to update it, then I'm here. And then, so I know I need 1 in the first spot, but I really need 2 in the second spot. So maybe this is supposed to be, I'm supposed to update it with num with this. Now I'm thinking about it. I think that's right. So then I should have put 2 here. Actually, yeah. So I think I found a bug, which is good. Why that we like run through it. And so yeah, that's kind of what you're supposed to do. And so I'm glad I did that. So yeah, I think here I'm supposed to put in not the last value, but the current value that I'm on into the insert pointer. Somebody asked if I'm live anywhere else. Yeah, I'm live on like all platforms, just about everything. YouTube, Twitch, Instagram, TikTok, Facebook. Yeah, I think that's it. All of those. Yeah, so somebody said no, use hash map. The problem won't allow you to use hash map. That's the trick in the problem. That's the problem. They want to make it harder for you. So that's why you can't use a hash map. So I think this is right though, because this would then make insert pointer. That means I would change this to 2 and I wouldn't care what this is. And so my unique values would be 1 and 2. My insert pointer would be incremented to 2. So this would be 2. And then I would come back to the top of my loop. And at that point, I would be, let me see. Yeah, I'd be at the end of my loop here. Oh no, would I have one more iteration? Because I would be, yeah, no, I'll be at the end of my loop. Yeah, so I couldn't go any further in my loop. So I would break out and I will return insert pointer 2, which is basically is this problem right here. So I need to have 1 and 2 in my array and I need to return 2. And so here I have 1 and 2 in my array at the start of it. Doesn't matter what's in the third. And then insert pointer 2. So I think that's right. I think where I messed up is just simply I had this. I thought I had needed to mutate the array with the last number, the previous number, but I actually need to mutate it with the current number, which makes sense actually. So that's where I screwed up. So I'm glad I ran through it. And that's why you run through it like that, because like in an interview scenario or Even if you're running the code, you might not find that bug. You might have to like literally trace through each line of code to find bugs. So I'm glad I ran into a bug that I could explain and work through. And there might be more bugs when I run this, but now that I've done it manually. I'm cool with that. And Leetcode allows you to run these problems. So now's the moment of truth. I'm actually gonna make this smaller to reduce some space now that I'm done. Now's the moment of truth for me to run this and see if I got it right. Okay, thank goodness. So yeah, for this case, I got the expected result. For this, remove the duplicates, you get 1 and 2. And then for this case, remove all the duplicates, you get 0 through 4, like you want. And so this is just running the 2 test cases from over here. Test cases from over here. I don't know why that sounded like weird. Anyway, so what you can also do on Leetcode is run it against the rest of Leetcode and see how it stacks up against the rest of Leetcode and see what your time complexity and your space complexity is. But let me also talk about that, because in the interview scenario, and it's good to know, good to be able to see what space complexity and time complexity is yourself. So if I look through this, the only thing that I'm doing as far as time complexity is as far as number of operations that is tied to my input size. That's what big O complexity is about. It's about how your algorithm scales with the size of your input. Not about how many lines of code you have. Not about how many variables you set and all that stuff. If it doesn't tie to the size of the input, then it's really not. It really is just constant operations. It's basically big O helps you determine how your algorithm will scale as the size of nums in this scenario scales. So the only thing I'm doing based on the size of my input is this loop here. That's where I'm going to loop through num length number of times. So that means my time complexity is big O of n. If we call the length, it's called the length, or right here, the length of nums, just call it n. So this algorithm is gonna run n times compared to the size of the input. And so all these other operations are constant. They're not tied to the size of the input. So in big O notation, they reduce to nothing, and the most dominant property or the most dominant part of the algorithm will take precedence, which is this n loops that I'm doing here. So the time complexity is big O of n. What's the space complexity? Well, if you look, there's nothing in here besides nums that I'm using that I'm using as far as space that is tied to the size of the input, the length of nums. I'm not making a map. I'm not making a set. I'm not making another array. I'm just taking my input array and mutating it in place. So basically, it's just not using any space. So it's big O of 1. So it's constant space. So somebody said, bro is terrible at explaining a straightforward topic. Okay, man, you give it a try. I want to see you get on here and give it a try, since I'm terrible at it. Yeah. Get on here and try, man. But anyway, it's big O of 1, which is constant space complexity, and that's what my problem is asking for. It's asking for me to not use any extra space. It doesn't have any constraints on the time complexity, but the time complexity is pretty good because it's big O of n. So, I think I'm done with this. I think I've explained everything. Yes, I was over explaining, but that's the whole purpose of this. I'm not on here just to run through the problem and not explain anything to anybody. Like, I'm trying to help myself, trying to help people here. So I don't know. I don't know what certain person on there expected. So anyway, we're going to run this against Leetcode and see what we get. Wow, this is pretty good. So Leetcode, when you run it against all the Leetcode solutions, what it does is it's instead of running it against those 2 cases that I showed, it runs it against like 100 cases or like a bunch of cases. So you could actually get a new error here if you have some sort of problem. But what's really good here is in the runtime complexity, the time complexity, I beat 99.75% of all other Leetcode submissions. Now they take these numbers with a grain of salt. I know some people don't believe it, but I'm gonna take my win here, so I don't care what y'all say. Like I beat 99.75, and then for memory, I beat 92.91%. So that's pretty good. I mean, this is an easy problem. You can get the solution from Leetcode that'll probably run just as fast. But I'm gonna take my win here, and I think from this we know that this is a very good solution. It runs very fast. It uses very little memory. That's what we're worried about. It's not really about the comparison, but you really want to get a good answer, because if you're in an interview or if you're doing real software development, that's what you want. You don't want to break the system because it scales poorly, and you also don't want to fail an interview because they're like, hey, your algorithm isn't optimal enough, or you don't even know what the time complexity is. So that's why we're here to learn. We're not here to just like run through the problem and just like, I don't know. But anyway, so yeah, anybody have any questions? I appreciate y'all watching. I appreciate the feedback, even the negative feedback. I appreciate it, man, because I can do better. I can explain better, so I understand. So yeah, somebody said, what's the time complexity? Time complexity is big O of N. Somebody said, do a random medium. If you actually go back in my videos, the last one I did was actually a hard problem. So it took even longer to do. In an interview setting, when I'm just running through these, it can take the whole interview to do a hard problem. Like the hard problems are crazy. And also I did a couple mediums in my past videos too. I'm going to do some more mediums, but the mediums take a long time to do, so it's kind of hard to do on the video. And so I try to do some of the mediums that are a little faster to do. But I will start doing more mediums and more hard level problems for sure. I try to mix it up, do some easies, do some mediums. I've been focusing more on easies to kind of hopefully build up my skills with because doing this on a video is kind of helping me get better at explaining myself in work scenarios and potentially interview scenarios, or definitely interview scenarios. But it's different. It's also different than just talking to one person. You got everybody watching you, not just one person, so it's even worse. But yeah, what I'm doing is I just solved the algorithm problem. I'll go back here. Called remove duplicates from sorted array, and I'm done with it. I'm just answering some questions. Yeah, I switched it back to the code, my bad. So people can take a look at that. The problem is up in the comments above if anybody wants to take a look at it. I'm probably gonna chop this video up. I may re-record a version of this video that's just like straightforward to the solution and repost it on my channels, on my social channels and stuff. That's what I usually do. But you can go back and watch other videos. Please like, subscribe, follow, do all that stuff on any of the channel that you're watching on. I try to do these routinely, and I also post a bunch of other random content about coding and stuff like that. And let me see. Any comments on Instagram? Somebody said, don't pay attention to him, bro. Yeah, that one got me, man. Dude killed me, man. Dude killed me on here. It was just like, hey, man, you suck at explaining. I was like, dang, I thought I was doing all right. But I appreciate that feedback, though, Like, I can always do better. So I don't care. Somebody said, you have any suggestions for learning data structure and algorithm problem? I think this is a great question. This is Devlin Rocha I know this guy from Instagram. Like, I've been following him for a long time. I just never said his Instagram name out loud before. But good question. What helped me is focusing. Like, you can just jump into Leetcode, but what helped me, man, is where did I use var? Somebody said use const and not var. Oh, I didn't put this var here. That was Leetcode that put that there. I didn't use any. I used let. I I can't use const because I need to change this value. So I need to increment it. So I think I used the right thing. But anyway, how do you get better at Leetcode? Somebody said you got 69 variables. That's sus. Y'all funny, man. But anyway, how you get better at Leetcode? So what helped me is you need to take some sort of you need to get some sort of learning resource that helps you learn the foundation. And I know that sounds cliche, but what helped me was this tool. Is paid, so it kind of sucks you gotta pay for it, but it's called Algo Monster. Algo Monster takes all the patterns and helps you learn the patterns first, and they rank the patterns in order that they show up in interviews. And so they will teach you the patterns, and then they'll give you problems from Leetcode to go do to reinforce your learning. And once you know those, like, it's like 10 patterns. Once you know those 10 patterns, then the problems become easier to solve, because then you have kind of like a tool set, like two pointer that I use for this problem is one of the patterns you learn. So once you learn that pattern, then you just can use that pattern when it comes to your mind. You also learn how a problem recognition or pattern recognition. You learn how to break down a problem into patterns. And when you get to those Leetcode hards, they may consist of multiple patterns. Like you may solve, this may be part of a Leetcode hard, just doing this part alone. And so you have to learn the patterns of how to like put them together to solve some sort of problem and break it down into smaller problems that you solve. And so I really recommend Algo Monster. It's a paid thing, but it's worth it. There's Algo Expert. That's more video based. So if you like videos, that's a little bit better. To me, I like Algo Monster because it's more, I like text based stuff. I like books or like documentation, text based stuff. Because like I don't like having to rewind the video and like I'll check out while the video is playing and I have to keep rewinding it. I like to be able to like pull notes and save into my own notes so that like before, like when I need to really recall something, I can use my own notes and organize my own way. You can't do that with a video. You can't take notes. You have to write the notes down yourself, I guess, but you have to freeze the video and keep pausing and play. I don't like that. So I like Algo Monster. Grokking or whatever, the coding interview is one that I heard was pretty good. I never used it, but I heard it follows the patterns, teaches the patterns first before the problem. And then once you got the patterns down, then yeah, it's just grinding, man. You just go on Leetcode and you grind. But let me show one more trick. Is these little flags here with the Apple, Facebook, Adobe. If you're interviewing, most of the companies doing these types of interviews are like, especially the larger ones, almost always do it. There's a list of companies that don't do any Leetcode that you can avoid it if you want, but some of the mid-sized to big companies do it a lot, and some of them are actually on Leetcode. And I can say from firsthand experience that you can pay for Leetcode and you can click on the company and you can order by frequency, and those problems actually do show up in interviews. I was surprised. I was like, how do they not see that their problems are like on Leetcode in the order that they're asking? So like if you go on Leetcode, click the company, order the problems by frequency, go through like the top 50, you will definitely see at least one of the problems on the interview. I guarantee you. Well, I ain't gonna guarantee you, but I'll say it happens a lot. It just about every time in my personal experience. So it's actually and if it's not the same exact problem, the concepts are going to be the same. They're going to ask you a similar type of problem, like a problem that's really close to it. So yeah. So that's my suggestion for getting better at Leetcode and like coding data structures and algorithms problems. I call it Leetcode, which is kind of sad, but I mean, hey, this is kind of what it is. Like that's what Leetcode is kind of like the de facto, man. Like, yeah, and he said somebody said hard problems are still hard even if you've seen them before. Man, tell me about it. Like I had seen a hard problem before in an interview and I still couldn't get it finished. I knew it took so long to go through it. It just took a long time to do it. Like part of the problem was breadth first search. I think the start of the problem was some sort of I had to build some sort of data structure, like a map first. So I had to use some other algorithm to build the map first to even do the rest of the problem. By the time I did that, I was like almost out of time, and I was trying to like explain and stuff like that. And then I tried to get to my breadth first search to basically use this map to like, it was like a graph or something that I had. I don't even remember what the problem was, but it was crazy, man. I knew the answer. I knew what to do, but it's still, if you can't do it fast enough is one thing. You got to get fast enough on the hard problems. And that's the second level, you know. First you got to get good at doing the problems, then you got to get fast. Yeah, well, also, so I see you're still talking about const. I mean, you can let me know if I'm wrong, but I think you use const to declare a variable. That means you're not gonna change it later, or you can't change it later. If you try to change it later, then it's gonna give you an error. But I could be wrong. I don't know. I would try it here, but yeah, I'll see if I can try it here and see what it does. Maybe it works. I don't know. Yeah, see, I get a runtime error. Assignment to a constant variable. You can't do that. I don't know if you got to that point already. No const for the function name. So yeah, like I was saying before, I didn't write that. That was Leetcode that wrote that. So that's not me. I'm leaving it there because Leetcode put that's the function. I get what you mean, but that's the Leetcode put that. I mean, I can change it if you want, but I didn't put that there. I mean, it'll work, but Leetcode put that there. So, yeah. So yeah, can't change the objects. Yeah, with const. Yeah. So if you're creating an object, then yeah, you want to use const. Yeah. Var for a function is a bad idea because it can only be reassigned. Yeah. I got you, man. No, I get what you're saying because you didn't know that that's how it was. I don't know why they did it like that. Like, I'm just gonna I'm just gonna copy all this and I'm gonna show you what I'm talking about. So if you restart, I'm gonna reset everything. Yeah, for some reason they decided to use var. So I don't know. This is like if you refresh it. So you're right, man. Sorry about that, but yeah, I don't know. I just didn't change. I just used what they gave me. But yeah. What I was gonna say. Yeah, some of you said, what are they doing? I don't know, man. I don't know. Yeah, I mean, good catch though, dude, because I didn't even think about trying to change that. So good catch. Somebody said, put it in the set, return the set. You can't use any data structures on this problem, unfortunately. That's part of the challenge in it. Can't use any data structures. They say they probably need the scope lifted to run the test. It might be something like that, where they're using a var to do some kind of thing when you run. Cause I mean, it worked when I ran the test, the like quick test. But if I submit it, I'm not gonna submit it because I don't want to have that bad thing on my Leetcode account because I don't think you can get rid of it. I'm not gonna run it I'm not gonna submit it. But yeah. So appreciate it, people joining and asking questions, man. It's been fun as usual. Let me see if any more questions were on Instagram. I always miss Instagram. Somebody said, hey, from Australia, do you do tutorials in React? I'm going to start doing some tutorials in React, actually. I'm going to start doing, I've been doing a lot of coding challenges for like the last year. I'm going to start doing UI components. That's one thing I've been getting into is like building small self-contained UI components that you can use in React or Vue or Angular or whatever. I'm probably going to use Vue or React though and start building like a like button. I just want to get on here one day and just build something I can build in enough time in a live. I can't build a whole application in a live. Like, it just doesn't make sense. But I can build like a like button or a carousel or a like button that you can click on and it has different states. I think that'll be a good teaching thing and a good practice for myself as well. To use Next.js, yeah, man, yes. Use React and Next.js for sure to build single page applications as well as like multi-page application, because Next.js is really good at allowing you to build multi-page React applications, as well as it just does a bunch of other stuff for you out of the box, which I love it. I also use Vue and use Nux.js, or I guess that's how you pronounce it, Nux. Use Remix Run. I'll check that out. I haven't used that yet, but I'll check it out. I mean, I heard great things. So, somebody said Next.js 13 looks wicked. Server and client render components on the same page. Oh, dang. I did not know that. I have not been looking in the latest stuff on that. That's pretty cool. Cause yeah, the server side rendering is one of the things I loved about it too. Just how it handles it. It makes it really easy for you to kind of choose server side rendering versus the client render components, and just where you put your logic. It's pretty cool. Yeah. Oh man. Yeah. What is this conversation? Somebody's talking about. What are y'all saying? Yeah, this is JavaScript. So I see somebody they threw some it looks like some C# in there. Man, C#, man, that was my first when I first got my professional job, when I first got my real programming job. It was a Microsoft shop, so we used a lot of C#. So I love C#, man. Strongly typed language, object oriented, powerful language, great language to learn deep programming concepts, inheritance, classes, interfaces, dependency injection. It's just a great language to learn all that stuff in a very structured way. And you can just build some great applications with it. .NET Core. And I don't know, they've made so much newer stuff since then that I'm not even up on it anymore. I'm mostly doing in my day job, I'm doing a lot of JavaScript and front end work. So I use frameworks. So now I'm doing a lot of framework stuff, React, Vue. I'm doing a lot of vanilla JavaScript work. So I've kind of tailored my, even for these Leetcode problems, I've been using JavaScript. I'm kind of just sticking with JavaScript so that I'm a little bit of a deeper expert in it if I ever do need to interview again. That's the one thing about it. I'm a jack of all trades. I'm language agnostic. But for interviewing, you kind of got to pick something and get really deep and get a strong command of the language in so that you're able to interview. And then once you get in the company, you can start exploring the stuff that you want to go. But you need to have one language or one stack that you can just say, if I need to interview in this, I'm so solid in this. You can't be in an interview doing a Leetcode problem and then forgetting syntax. Don't risk it, man. Just use whatever language you're most comfortable with. Don't have any pride and all that stuff with it. So yeah, anyway. Yeah, .NET Mau UI. I don't know what that is, how you pronounce that, but I just seen that. Yeah, lets you build one app and it works on iOS and Android and Windows. So I was using not .NET, but I was using Xamarin before, and I guess this Maui or whatever it's called is the new thing beyond Xamarin. I used to build apps in Xamarin using C# and the Xamarin platform. Man, Xamarin is awesome, man. I like it. I mean, I don't know which I like better, Xamarin or using React Native and doing it in JavaScript. It's crazy because I used to do native app development. So I used to use Swift and Objective-C before that. I'm old. I've been in the industry 10 something years. So I used to use Objective-C to build mobile apps natively in Java for Android. But I don't know. I just kind of moved away from doing native app development. I feel like the only way I would, that's my alarm thing. But the only way I would go back to that if I was either in a company and they just needed to build some very robust native apps, or if I had my own app and I really wanted to just dig in. But I mean, why would I spend the time if I can just use a cross-platform framework like React Native or Xamarin or Maui or whatever cross-platform apps are ghetto. I'd rather use native. Hey man, I get it, man. I get it. But man, some of these cross-platform frameworks are pretty good, man. Now I get now, like when it was Cordova, that old stuff where it was like a web form looking thing, that crap sucked. Like bad. Like I seen where it really sucks. Xamarin and React Native actually do render a native app. You know, it renders it through the natural process. Like you're just building it in this, but it's gonna convert it into an actual app. But I will be fair, like I'm not gonna like native app development is better. It's supposed to be. So I agree with you in that fact. But you can save so much time with cross-platform development. But if you have the time and resources, you should build like if you're building a multi-million-dollar app for a multi-billion-dollar company, whatever, you probably should build the platform separately. Eventually you may run into an issue where you have to. Like I think Airbnb was the biggest case of that. I think it was Airbnb where they built using like React Native, and then they like ran into all kind of problems. That's because they're too huge. They that one of the most used apps in the world. Yes, they should build their app natively. React Native and Xamarin cross-platform frameworks are to save smaller companies time and not have to hire iOS and Android devs. They can hire a JavaScript dev, or they can hire a C# dev, and they can still build an app. So it's kind of a use case thing. But yeah, you should always prefer native over those things as far as having the best app. I have to bridge a big app to native is going to be a pain. Man, I don't envy you, dude. Like, I know that's going to be crazy. Thoughts on MATLAB? I don't really know much about MATLAB, honestly. I've never had any through my college. I got a degree in computer science. I never really used it there. Never had to use it at work. I think it's kind of a different lane than I'm in. But, you know, I hear good things. A lot of people use it. Oh, what did he say about Maui? I don't love I don't love XAML, but it's just like Xamarin pronounced like Mau. Oh, like Hawaii? Oh, like Mau, Hawaii. Mau. Man, I suck at names and stuff. I guess that's what it is. Mau, Hawaii. I don't even know how to pronounce Mau, Hawaii, let alone its Mau platform. Yeah, I want to try it out, man. I still got some old Xamarin apps that I frequently have to update. So I actually jumped back into it early this week, and I was like, man, I kind of want to build a new app in Xamarin, but I also want to stick with my JavaScript practice right now. I just want to kind of dig a little bit deeper. What's the point of cross-platform apps if I gotta make separate per platform layouts? Yeah, I think if you get to the point where you're making a separate, that's if you need to. If you got to make a separate layout per platform a lot, then yeah, you just build separate, you know, if you have the skills. That's the problem, is like companies don't always have the resources to hire a specific Android dev, and it's usually a resource thing. It's not usually like we like these cross-platform frameworks better than native development. It's usually not. That's usually not the question. It's usually the question is resourcing. That's what it's been in my whole career. When we built an app using Xamarin because we didn't have Android and iOS devs, and they didn't want to hire any. And I told them I knew how to do it, and they was like, "Well, you're not gonna work on both apps by yourself. You don't have any help. So we're gonna use Xamarin so you can actually have some help." So that's how it always ends up being, man. But I'm gonna go back to native development when I have more time, when I actually get some more business ideas off the ground a little bit further. So, yeah. And Apple makes everything more difficult. Yeah, for sure. They definitely do. They just rejected one of my apps a couple weeks ago, and it was a pain to get it accepted. You gotta have. That's why I use like Apple stuff. Somebody asked me the other day, like, why you use Apple? Why don't you just buy another computer for much or build your own computer for much cheaper? I mean, because it's Apple, man. Like, I gotta build apps, and like, I can't do that on Windows. It just don't work. And so yeah, I just spend my little money on the Apple stuff, pay the Apple tax, and everything works smoothly. I just got this new M1 or whatever, and it builds a lot faster. So Oh, what somebody say about C++? That was actually my first. Oh, is it true if I learn C++ first, every language, man, that is some truth to that, man. It's true. But like Whittington said, man, is it appreciate all the comments, man. Is it it's true, but keep in mind that C++ is significantly more difficult to learn. Yes. That was actually like one of my first like real programming language I learned in college, and that's what made me switch my major to computer science. I was in the engineering school. They made you take one class of programming, and for some reason it was C++ that they made you use. It was weird, and it was hard as crap to learn for somebody that don't know programming. It's one of the hardest ones. But once you learn it, yeah, I mean, the skills transfer to other languages, other languages like Python, JavaScript, C#, Java. All of them will be a little easier. I would also suggest like C# and Java too, man, because they're statically typed. I feel like at some point everybody should learn a statically typed, and not that C++ isn't, but I'm just saying at some point everybody should pick up either C# or Java because they're object oriented, they're statically typed. You learn about interfaces, dependency injection, tuples. Like, I mean, it's just so many different concepts in those languages that you learn that you just don't have in other languages. Inheritance. You have inheritance in JavaScript, but it's prototypal inheritance or prototype inheritance. It's a lot different than what you learn in C# and JavaScript. Learning about interfaces, like what an interface is and how valuable they can be for unit testing, for dependency injection, for system architecture. I wouldn't say system architecture, sorry, like application design. Yeah, man, I'm going on a lot of tangents, but I mean, I like talking about this stuff, so it's cool. Did you use MATLAB when you were studying engineering? Man, I quit engineering after 1 year. So, like I said, I was in engineering school for 1 year, my junior year in college, and once I found programming, that was it, man. I was like, I'm switching my major. I didn't even know there was a major for programming. I never even knew how to get into programming. I thought you just had to be like some whiz kid and go to some special school to learn how to build apps and websites and stuff like that and program. And then I was in my own school, and I took a programming class, and I was in engineering. They make you take one programming class just as part of the engineering curriculum. Everybody hated it. I loved it. I was like, there's something here. You know what I mean? And so first I switched to computer engineering. I kind of skipped a step in the story. I switched to computer engineering, and that made me start taking classes in the computer science school. And I saw the teachers over there. I saw the students over there. And I was like, what am I doing? I just need to switch my major to major in this school. And they were like, well, computer science is the main like programming major. And so I switched to that, man. That was like one of the best choices I ever made in my life. And sometimes I feel like I just stumbled upon it, but I followed my interest. I switched my major. So, I mean, did I know that tech at that time, this is like back in like 2000, I don't even want to show my age, but it's like 2009, something like that, 2008. And back then, tech it wasn't cool to be in tech. It wasn't cool to be a tech dude. It wasn't cool to build apps. It wasn't cool to be programming. It wasn't cool to be in tech. It wasn't cool to talk about tech. But tech was growing rapidly at that time. The iPhone had just came out. Smartphones were picking up. I actually got the first Android phone that was available in the US, like a heavily marketed version of it. And I got like the first iPhone when it came out, and like websites and stuff were blowing up, and YouTube was coming out. Tech just started booming. All these big tech companies started coming up. Did I know at the time that I picked this major that I was going to be going in such a great field? No, I just knew that I liked to program more than that engineering stuff. Because I was in the engineering field, and I was watching my teacher in physics class. I hated physics class the worst. He had a ball in his hand. He was trying to show us something about physics. And he was like, if I drop this ball, then this is going to happen. and he dropped the ball and it rolled off the thing, off the whatever platform he's standing on, fell on the ground. I was like, this was stupid. Then he was like, well, it will work in a frictionless environment. So I'm like, this ain't even real. Like, it got to be a frictionless environment for us to even do our calculations. I want to do something real. So that's when I switched to programming. But nothing wrong with engineering, man. Nothing wrong with physics. None of that stuff. It just wasn't for me. I was always into computers and crap. Object oriented is dying. If you're using web development, you should be learning functional. I wouldn't say it's dying, but I agree with you that you should learn functional. I wouldn't say object oriented is dying. Java and C#, they're not going nowhere. There's a lot of companies still using, especially on the back end. But yeah, I get what you mean. Like web development, and yeah, you're gonna lean toward more functional and not object oriented stuff. But I mean, hey, TypeScript, man. Statically typed. The people starting to use more classes in JavaScript. I know React and stuff is trying to change more to functional, but object oriented, I don't think it's going nowhere. But I get what you're saying. Oh shoot, I messed my comments up. Where do you work? I missed a bunch of comments, my bad. But somebody said, where do you work? I work at a chat company called LivePerson. We do chat for, we're like a white label. And what white label mean is that like a lot of other big companies use our chat, which is like, let's say you go to Verizon.com and you don't want to call, you just want to chat with somebody. That's our chat. That's like, I work on that chat box that shows up that you type into to send messages to them. Home Depot, I work on that box that's there. You could probably like Delta. You can name any like big company in the chat is probably something that I work on. So like the company's not a household name, but I frequently have to work with household name companies. Object oriented is dying, and I already answered that. F MATLAB. All right. What's the pay like? Is it lit over there? Yeah, man. Oh no, he asking to somebody. Oh yeah, this Whittington. I already know you know what the pay like in the tech industry. You asking him specifically what the pay like is over there. I completely glossed over the fact that it's a sorted array and was wondering how this worked. Oh yeah, that is an important point I tried to make at the start. Is that like none of this works without it being a sorted array. Non-decreasing. So it's either the next value is either higher than the last value or it's higher or equal to the last value. Pay is good around 180, 190. Yeah, the pay is good. What company is that? I missed the company. That's some good pay. Especially if you ain't in like a high cost of living area, you like making a way. What's the expression? You making whatever, you're doing pretty good, especially if it's not high cost of living. I mean, 180 is like insane. Actually, I'm not trying to make it like a little thing. Like that's a lot of money. But it's tech. This is tech, man. Anyone ever had a job with Workday? I have not. People act like functional programming is some new trend. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, that's why I didn't want to say that functional programming is cool. I didn't want to say that, but yeah, I learned about functional programming in college, like in like 2008. It was like we had a programming paradigms class, object oriented, functional programming, like all the different kinds. So it's not new, but you know how stuff cycles around, man. It's like hype and then it goes away. Just like server side rendering. Server side rendering, when I first came in, like languages like PHP, JavaScript, C# did a lot of server side rendering. ASP.NET web forms, Java server pages. PHP is like 80% of the web. People don't know that. People hate on PHP, but Facebook was built on PHP. PHP built the internet, like literally, like even right now, you can go look up the stats. It's at least, I'm gonna say it's at least 50% of the internet is built on PHP, probably 60. So most of the internet is still built on WordPress, PHP, and it was server-side programming. And then the frameworks came out, JavaScript and React, Vue, Angular. And everybody was like, do everything, do all this work on the front end. Don't do much server-side rendering. Let the framework handle all of your logic or most of your logic on the front end. And just have a clear layer between the server and the front end. Make API calls from your web app to your back end. Do a lot of your logic in your front end. Now the cycle has came back around where now server-side rendering, because of SEO concerns, because of performance concerns, now server-side rendering is making like a comeback, which is just funny. It's interesting to me, but this is the cycles. That means I'm doing good because I've been in the industry long enough for something to just completely just like circle back around like that. A lot of things did that. Embedded system design, no, I don't have too much experience with that. Thoughts on Angular with C#? I don't have much. I avoided Angular because it just has such a high learning curve. Much respect for you though if you know it, because it's definitely one of the harder frameworks to learn, and definitely harder to master. But Angular with C#, that's an interesting combination. Like, actually, like, I don't have any thoughts on it, but previously in my job when we were doing more C#, we had to adopt the Angular application that was it wasn't like directly integrated with C#, but the C# was the back end, Angular was the front end. Have you done filtering? I've done filtering. What kind of filtering do you mean? Like JavaScript array filtering, server side filtering. Just let me know. Oh, Expedia. Dang, Expedia, they paying him like that over there? Jeez. God, man. That's what I'm saying, man. Tech is crazy, man. Because, like, you could work at a tech company. The Expedia is a tech company. It's a website. So it's a tech company. So I get that. I kind of understand, actually, that why they pay that much to the tech side. And you can work at a company that has a tech department. Almost every company has a tech department at this point because, like Delta is an airline company. Their main source of revenue is airline stuff. But they have tech. They have to have tech as part. Will they treat their tech department and tech employees as well as, like, let's say Google, Apple, Facebook, Netflix? Probably not, because, like, the engineers at Netflix, at tech companies, they're the core of the business. And so they're going to kind of be like, I wouldn't say treated. I'm not going to say treated, but I'm just saying, like, as far as like pay, as far as influence on the rest of the company. In those tech companies, of course, the technical team needs to be, it's a tech company. The technical team needs to have the most influence and probably some of the highest paid. But it depends company to company for sure. I had to take the meat. That was crazy. Discrete math class next semester. Is there anything I can do to prepare for proofs? Shoot. There's a lot you could do, man. When I was going through school, we didn't have as much YouTube and all that crap and internet resources. So, man, you could really just look up. You can start practicing right now. I mean, if you got the determination and the discipline to start studying beforehand, you can go online and literally find a whole discrete math class or find somebody on YouTube to teach you some stuff. So yeah, man, for sure. Like, there's a lot of stuff you can do. I would just go on YouTube, man, and find some resources to start like doing some light intro to it. Then when you get in the class, man, you'll be ready to go because you'll be ahead of the teacher, And so I think that'll make it easier on you. I wish there was more resources like back, like when I was in school, but I don't plan on going to school again. I really don't have to. Experience is king in the tech industry. I mean, you can go get a master's or go get another degree, but I know people that don't even have a degree making more money than me. So why would I go spend $100,000 on another degree, or even $50,000 or even $20,000? Why does Leetcode? I don't know if you did it on purpose. Probably did it on purpose. But why does Leetcode always say non-decreasing instead of increasing? Yeah, man, I asked myself that earlier. It's because this is technically, if you say increasing, you basically saying that every item will increase. Well, that's not the case with this. Every item might increase or it might stay the same. And so basically basically there's three things can happen with this array when the next number comes. It can either go up, it can either stay the same, or it can either go down. They're basically saying it's non-decreasing because it can stay the same or go up. So they're basically trying to say the only thing that it is not. Yeah, it's stupid. It's still kind of stupid, but it makes sense when I thought about it. They can't say it's increasing because everything doesn't increase. It actually might stay the same. They probably could have just said increasing or I don't know, greater than or equal to, or I don't know, something like that. But that's somebody in the comments. Shoot, I don't know where it is, discussion, but I'm not gonna try to go find it. But I actually went and looked that up earlier because I didn't know why it was that either. So good question. Should check out levels.com. Yes, man. If you're in tech, and I think it's probably more than just tech companies in there. I'm not sure. Levels.fyi really can give you a beat on how much you should be making in your city and in your role and in your level of experience. One thing to be, when we talk about like salaries and stuff like that, these companies have salary bands for different positions, but they also have different salary bands for your location. If you live in Atlanta, Georgia, like I am, they're not going to be trying to pay me as much as somebody living in Seattle, Washington, or living in Los Angeles, or living in New York City, or living in what's the other big place? San Francisco. Basically anywhere in California or anywhere West Coast, probably. Really, they're gonna pay you more because it costs $3,000 to have a 2-bedroom apartment that is decent. And I'm just making up stuff here, but I mean it's a lot more expensive to live there. In Atlanta. Atlanta's starting to come up with the prices, but it's not high cost of living at all. Like, if you make a good amount of money here, you're doing pretty good. Because, like, it's not expensive to live here yet. Me spending $15K right now at the 17-week boot camp. Hey, I understand. Now, that makes sense, man. I mean, when you first trying to get into tech, go to school. Either get a degree or go to a boot camp or pay for some resource. Like, you should be investing in yourself and paying for it. Yeah, for sure. Like I like definitely, whether you go the boot camp route or the school route, it doesn't matter. I'm just saying from my perspective, I've been to school. I'm still paying back student loans right now. I'm not about to go back to school again. It's not going to mean anything for me. My 10 years of experience means way more than that. And the knowledge I have in my head means way more than that. Like me getting a master's degree right now, they're just gonna blink at. It's not gonna matter. Especially if they're hiring other people that don't have a degree at all. Why would a master's degree matter for me? Especially if I get in the interview and I just suck. Like they're not gonna care. Experience matters so much. Certain fields. Okay, yeah. Let me backtrack. Yeah, certain fields do require some more school. Like if you're in certifications, like if you're going into tech and you're going down like the security route or you're going down the DevOps route, you may need like more schooling or certifications or some sort of more like credentials. If you're going in some subfield of tech that just requires it, like if you're going into some like law part of tech or some financial part of tech, then yeah, you might need some more schooling. But in general, it just depends. But in general, I don't think you do. Tech experience matters more. Yeah, experience is gold. Leetcode sucks. Yeah, Leetcode is a game, man. I'm doing the Leetcodes on here, but don't mistake it as I just totally 100% agree with the usage of Leetcode. Like, Leetcode is like, I can't remember what the expression is, but it's kind of like Google started doing it, and then all these other big companies started following, and then the medium-sized companies, and now even some of the smaller companies are doing it. And so Leetcode is just like, it's a way to weed out people But I don't agree with it. I would like to see companies do more practical interviewing that more aligned to the actual job that's being done. Leetcode is completely different from the job that you're doing for the most part. Now there are some jobs out there, maybe more in the machine learning, data science, AI side of it, that you may be doing more algorithms. But for the most people, most software developers will agree that Leetcode is not a accurate reflection of the day-to-day work. Now, do the concepts that Leetcode introduce, are they valuable to a programmer? Yes, like most definitely. Like that's why they teach it in school, and that's why some boot campers are sometimes can be frustrated with the interview process, because that's not something typically a boot camp teaches. A boot camp actually nicely teaches you the more practical things that you would learn, that you would do in a job, versus college. Because college teaches you a bunch of theoretical stuff that you never use again. But they do teach you Leetcode, or sorry, I'm calling it Leetcode, but data structures and algorithms pretty well. So it's like a trade-off between college. I think it's the way you like to learn, whether you choose college, boot camp, or you do a self-teaching thing. It just depends on your motivation. If you can't motivate yourself, then you need to go to college, man, or go to a boot camp. If you can't motivate yourself, don't be trying to self-teach. You'll never get through it. It's too hard. But if you're super motivated, you can do it. Some people need to go to college because some people need to have that type of structure. Some people need to go to boot camps because they need to have that type of structure. So it just depends. Yeah, Leetcode. Yeah, and then that's the thing I like about Leetcode is you have to practice. Like you can be like 10, 15 years in. I'm still practicing Leet. You have to practice Leetcode. You just have to. You have to keep it fresh. It's not something that you're just gonna be able to get so smart that you just can just figure out Leetcode. No, you have to practice and memorize. And then they say, "Oh, it's no memorization." No, it is memorization. That's what learning is memorization. I hate when people say it's not memorization. Now, is it all memorization? No. Yes, there should be some intuition that comes in. The intuition comes from you memorizing stuff, though. You memorize some things and you use the memorization to, innovate or whatever, or like have intuition to figure out a new problem. If you want to be, some of the small companies ask Leetcode now too. So you got to be ready for it. Ask the recruiter when you interview, just ask them like straight up, just say, hey, do they do Leetcode style or data structure and algorithm problem here, so you can be properly prepped. Does Expedia do Leetcode? That's the number one question right now. Are you passionate? I'm assuming you're just asking because of the way I'm speaking. I'm super passionate, right? That's why I'm on this live so long. I'm like passionate about all this stuff. This is my like career, journey, and maybe I'm like cheesy passionate, but hey, I don't really care. My journey, tech, code, and all that stuff been good enough to me where I don't care. Expedia does Leetcode. Yeah, my company does Leetcode too. I have to interview people with Leetcode, but interviewing people is different than doing Leetcode yourself, because you already know the answer. Like it's easy. Leetcode, ask people Leetcode question. You already know. Even if you use different questions, it's like you still know the answer. That's easy. But yeah. Oh, okay. I guess they're asking if I have passion or if I'm just in it for the money. It's a little bit of both. I'm definitely in it for the money. Like I'm not gonna be just doing stuff for no reason. You know what I'm saying? Like even doing these lives and building my brand eventually is to, make money or source of revenue for myself eventually. And it's the practice, because like honestly, doing these ever since I started doing these live Leetcoding sessions, I've gotten better and more practice and more seasoned at explaining myself and doing Leetcode problems with a bit of artificial pressure. It's kind of like a way to do. You can like some people do what they call it, trial interviews, or what they call mock interviews. I don't really like mock interviews because I don't know. I kind of like to just go in the interview. I don't know. I'm just weird, man. Like I I don't like to like go on a mock interview and then struggle, and then it's, I don't know, I'm just weird, man. It's just, so these are my mock interviews right here. But yeah, confidence can help reduce nervousness for sure. But yeah, I'm passionate about it. I'm not passionate about Leetcode at all. Like, just because I'm doing these lives, it's more of like to teach, help people, and more for me to practice. But I'm not passionate about Leetcode that much. Like, honestly, I'm passionate about building stuff. Like building. So he said, "What did you say? Can you build my brand while you at it?" Hey, you building your brand, man. I mean, hey, I know you are. So your brand's building by your comments already. I seen you around on other comments too. So, but yeah, like, I'm not passionate about Leetcode. I mean, I just do it because it's a necessity in the industry. But I like my passion in programming comes from building stuff and seeing people use the stuff that I built, and like seeing it be valuable or making money from it, whether it's my own personal stuff that I build or whether it's something at work that's helping me grow my career. I'm passionate about just building stuff and like delivering good software and apps and websites and services and stuff like that. So it does give me, it's like an artistry a little bit. Like, you build something from nothing. Like, it's just a blank canvas and you build something. I think that's pretty cool. That's where my passion comes from. It's hard passion. I'm hardly passionate. I wanted to boot camp. You don't have to be passionate about it, man. It helps now. It helps you stay motivated for sure. The one thing I'll say about getting into tech is if you hate it though, you're gonna have a hard time. You're gonna burn out, man. Because like what happens is people seeing all this money in tech, they're seeing they think it's an easy lifestyle. They think you working from home a lot more, or you can find a work from home job easier. People posting videos, they don't do nothing. Like, you're gonna make all this money and it's just your life is just gonna be so much better. Tech jobs are still a job. They are still stressful. When you break something, you work until you fix it. You know what I mean? When you're on call, you the one who get all the issues while the whole time you're on call. When there's some bug you can't figure out, you work on it till you figure it out, and you get pressure from your manager to fix it. Like, why is this? They, depending on the manager, they might not like hound you, but different people, different managers have different styles. So it's not. So if you don't like it, I've seen so many people burn out, man. They get into tech, they think it's all good, think it's all gravy. They burn out just the same as they do in other careers because they don't like it. They just hate it. Not that you don't have to like it, but you can't hate. I feel like you can't hate it, man. If you do, when the hard stuff comes, you're gonna want to peel out, man. You're not gonna want to stick around for that. So I don't care about joining order for yeah, I definitely practice. I definitely practice on some companies for sure, man. I definitely practice on some companies for sure. Like with Leetcode questions and just interviewing, just system design. System design interviews can be a beast too, man, because they're so like open-ended. It's like they're not open-ended, but they are. And you use your experience, then you study a little bit, you try to merge it together. It's a lot, man. Yep, it push you at the job. Some weeks you work long hours. Yeah, depending on the role, depending on the team, depending on the time of the year, what y'all working on. There could be days it could be weeks where you work 12-hour, 15-hour days. It could be days where you work 24/7 if there's some major incident that you're trying to figure out. It's not all good, man. You know what I mean? I think people try to make it seem that way. I don't think people that make the videos, I don't think they're like, some days are simple, some days are easier. So I don't think they're always trying to mislead. Cause some days are different than others. Some days you are just kind of, more of a chill day, but it's definitely the overall job isn't like that. And I think they can't go into detail of everything. They can't just sit there and record their screen of the pool. Like, they can't give away confidential information. Like, they can't share their code of the company. So, and they can't even share what the company's doing. So that's kind of why sometimes these like day in the life videos, people kind of go against them. But they can only share so much. They can share that they're working, I'm fixing a bug, but they can't share what the bug is. They can't share how hard it was. I mean, maybe they could share more of the pain or whatever. But maybe I'll make a day in the life video of like one of my most worst days, so that people can kind of see the bad side of it. But overall, it's worth it for sure, man. It is worth it 100%. But it's just not easy. So if you have the passion, it helps you stay grounded and not want to give up on it. Because some people think it's boring, and if you think it's boring, and then when the stress comes, you're gonna burn out. Yeah, game devs, I'm never getting into game dev, and I hate to say that because I'm kind of going off of what other people say and not my own experience. But yeah, game dev, man, I hear bad things, and it's because I think it's a lot to do with the hard deadlines that they have. That deadlines are crazy, man. Like, and that's with any job, like. When you gotta release a game that's been announced 2 years ahead of time, or a year ahead of time, or whatever, and it's coming down to the wire, you will literally have to work 24/7 to meet the release date. And then if you release it nowadays, they just release the game ain't even finished. So now you see the devs working through Christmas. Like Call of Duty is one game, man. This last Call of Duty was buggy as hell, and they like. I know those devs working like crazy, doing these updates to fix the bugs. Because I got on there like last week after the last update, season 2, and it still was the same bugs from the first time. So, and I know their devs are working 24/7 besides for their little vacation, to try to fix all those bugs. And that's after, you know what I'm saying? They're trying to keep up with the seasons or whatever. So. But just to release the game on time, man, if you ain't done with that game, you need to work 24/7 till it's done. So, yeah, man. And I knew it's a game studio here in Atlanta, a couple of them, a couple big ones. And the devs I knew there, yeah, man, they say they work like crazy. So, like, they have these. I'm fortunate to be in a place where I have good work-life balance. I have to protect it. Like, it's not always there. I have to kind of protect it. But yeah, I'm a 9 to 5 dude. Like, I ain't like, unless there's an emergency, it can wait till tomorrow. But yeah, that's software development. When there is an emergency, I work until it's done. Or if I get in like a flow state, where I'm just like zoned in, and I know if I keep going, I can. If you get in a flow state, man, you might be able to do like 2 or 3 days of work in 3 hours. You know, and if you're a dev, you know what I'm talking about. If you're in any line of work, if you just get in that flow state where it's just the stuff is just coming to you, sometimes you gotta stick with it, man. I know those Infinity War devs, they're lazy. Oh, dang, man. Don't say that, man. That sucks, man. I need y'all to fix them bugs, man. I hope they're not lazy over there. I need them to fix those bugs for sure. Yeah, but anyway, man, somebody's on Instagram said Big O notation is confusing to me. Oh yeah. Yeah, so Big O notation, man. My bad, I was reading some comments, but Big O notation is definitely confusing. It took me a while to learn it. One, I'm trying to think of the resource I learned it. It was it's this website called dev2, dev.2, to. It had a great article. Maybe I'll share it in an Instagram or a live, or not, whatever they call these stupid things, reels. Share it in a reel or in a short and a TikTok or something like that. This like article that really taught me Big O notation. I just read through it. It explained it the best I've ever seen it, and I really got a decent grasp on the basics of Big O notation. I don't think I'm perfect at it for sure. Like, once you start getting into like some of those like more complicated ones that don't come up as much in problems, I'm not like an expert on those, but like, you know, quadratic time, constant time, linear time, like I kind of like have a strong grasp on those. Logarithmic time, like exponential, I got a good grasp on those. Yeah, man, good night. Appreciate y'all joining. I'm probably gonna hop off here eventually too. I've been on here for a while, but I hadn't been on here in about a month, so I was like, I'll just stay on here and just talk for a while. But yeah. Dang. Oh, so somebody said they see a black screen. Oh shoot. So is it working on Instagram? I don't even know. Oh yeah. Yeah, it is working. Because people leaving comments. I don't know. But anyway, I appreciate y'all joining. I'm gonna hop off now. Follow me on any channel. I do these streams on any channel. I post content on all the social media channels, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, everywhere. Appreciate y'all joining. And yeah, I'll see y'all in the next video. I'm gonna sign off. Appreciate it.